Small details matter in design. It's what separates the professional from the amateur. The way we treat drop shadows with subtlety and grace, how we use layers to create depth and dimension, and how we cultivate textures to add realism and richness to our designs are all small details that add up to a polished-looking design. Drop shadows used incorrectly can look plain awful, or they can look realistic. Being able to mess with the distance, amount of blur, the opacity of drop shadows can make them look more professional and sleek. Drop shadows are a great way to add more dimension and layers to an otherwise flat design. But you have to be careful using drop shadows on text. There are a few simple rules to follow. Never use a drop shadow with a similar colored text and background. It just looks obvious. The less drop shadows are noticeable, the better. Manually created drop shadows can have different bends and curves to them to create a shadow that looks more three-dimensional. Take, for instance, this photograph. I'm using the pen tool in Adobe Illustrator to hand draw a shadow underneath. Textures can be a designer's best friend. The best use of a texture is to fill the void of a solid colored space. If you feel the space just needs a little something, then screen back a texture by changing the blending mode or opacity that you can make the texture feel like it belongs there. Textures can be tricky. Like most of these small design details, subtlety is the name of the game. Make sure your texture does not overpower a design piece. Being too strong or the wrong color can make a once clean design very busy. Make sure you reduce the opacity enough or play around with your different blending modes to find the right combination. You can do some pretty cool things with typography by adding a texture over top of it. It can help a typography-only design stand on its own. Patterns can spice up that plain background as well. Creating your own patterns is fun in Adobe Illustrator. Geometric shapes work well with modern, clean, flat design. Try to use only one style of pattern per design. If you decide to use two different kinds of patterns, make sure one is more prominent to avoid competing of the two different patterns. Add layers to your design. One way to do this is to add drop shadow to different overlapping elements, or tuck one side of an element under another, while leaving another element on top. This type of layering adds complexity to your design. Paying attention to all these small design details ends up making a big impact on the quality of your designs.